Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. We are live here on YouTube, our first college football roundtable. Got my boys here with me to talk some ball. I'm showing some love to some of my SEC friends because they need the platform to talk their mess, and we're gonna have a real fun conversation. There may be some debates here and there. Before I do intros, I just want to give a quick rundown of the agenda that we have. We are going to get into what we feel about our teams individually. Texas, Trey and I will talk about Texas. Brandon will talk about A&M, and Billy will talk about LSU. We will get into some of the guys that are dealing with some COVID issues, whether they're sitting out for the draft or having personal issues themselves. We will also be discussing the coaches poll that dropped today and other news around college football. So, guys, welcome to the channel. All of everybody, trans McCulls, but Brandon and Billy, welcome back. You guys have been some of the more popular content on here. So it is well earned and deserved. So, Brandon, I'll start with you just to kick off quick intro, and then we'll jump into it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me back. It's always a privilege to come and chat football with you guys. It's been a crazy year in 2020. We'll see what this college football season looks like.
Indeed, man. Billy, what's good, man?
Oh man, glad to be back. Hopefully it's looking promising that we're gonna have some type of football. So hopefully we can sustain it and finally get to hang out with Tran on a episode. So it's gonna be good though. I'm excited. So
Jay Tran, what's good, baby?
Same old. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
Yeah,
I love the chats. I love the live chats.
Hey, Brandon, you already got some love in here with Alex showing you some love. So, and my man Danny said, "Yeah,
thanks
man.
and gig 'em.
Yeah, y'all always, that train's never late." So,
sometimes.
You know what, man? I do want to start with this. I'm not just myself. Tran and I have withheld our reactions on purpose for LSU Texas for a myriad of reasons. We wanted to do it with you, Billy, and you've earned that because you guys are the reigning national champions. Hopefully not the last national champions. Hopefully we get some sort of because and unfortunately with us going conference only, we're not going to be able to get our bucket list tripped at least in 2020.
Yep.
Right.
To go to Baton Rouge and get that revenge. So, bruh, are you feeling the same way we're feeling? Because I just wanted to start out just kind of, pouring one out to LSU Texas right now.
Well, I mean, you kind of saw the writing on the wall, right? A month, 2 months back, and you kind of just saw it developing, and it's disappointing for both fan bases. I think we both know that it was a much anticipated game. Y'all might call it revenge, but we have a little revenge too. We had a couple episodes down there at y'all stadium, so we have some things up our sleeves too. So
knock it off. That's fake news, Billy, and you know it. You know it, damn it.
Got the AC off on them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was set at 78. Oh yeah, well it's 105 degrees outside. Thanks, guys. No, but it's all good, man. It's it's disappointing. That's really it is what it is. I think I'm trying to look at a positive outlook and enjoy what we do have. So that's where I stand on it. So it's unfortunate. Hopefully we can hook up. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see that happening. And it doesn't look anytime soon. Something's gonna have to fall through.
Something's gonna have to fall through. I agree.
Yeah.
Tran, I want to get your thoughts on this though. But I agree that something's gonna fall through, or some would have to fall through.
So my quick thoughts on it are, I'm actually kind of glad that they canceled it for this year, because when we went there, I wanted to go and see the whole pageantry of, Baton Rouge. I didn't want half-ass version of it. Right. And if we were to win it, we wouldn't have won in, that atmosphere, because it was going to be a night game. It was going to be fun. It was going to be exciting. And me going to that, I expected the full experience. With that said, I would say the earliest we could probably do it would be next year, and it wouldn't happen anyways next year because I don't think we'd drop a old rival of Arkansas for this one, honestly. So I mean, I think we're actually booked out until what, 2034.
Yeah, I think
Something
there's
like
a
that.
gap. Was there a gap in 27 or maybe 28 that might happen? I don't know.
I think that was when we were going to play the second game of Michigan. So it's just we actually have a pretty good schedule ahead. It's just we don't get to go to Baton Rouge. I mean, it's
not looking good.
It's disappointing.
It's also disappointing because selfishly as Texas fans, we feel good about where we're at coming into this season. And you know, last season y'all came up, and Billy, we did the preview video, right? And we talked about this, and you had a aura about you when we were talking because we hadn't seen it proven out at LSU. The signs were there. Y'all had the 10-win season. Y'all beat UCF. Y'all had the first game with the new offense, but Joe Brady at that point when we played was still a mystery to the rest of the country. Joe Burrow still hadn't become Joe Burrow, right? So when y'all, but you knew as a fan because you were tied in, like, hey, I really feel like we're going to be special. This is going to be a special season, and everything kind of lined up when y'all came to Austin, and y'all took off from there. We're feeling that way about our team in a lot of ways, right? With Sam Ehlinger being his senior year, we have a new offensive coordinator. We have a new defensive coordinator. We feel like we're going to be healthy again. And, you know, you guys dealing with a lot of attrition, dealing with turnover on the coaching staff. And it's like, damn, like this was our opportunity to prove it to ourselves too. I mean, I'm not just saying.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
I mean, to piggyback that is like, okay, let's be honest. If y'all probably don't beat us, you probably have a new head coach after this year, and the program's going in a different direction. So that's why it was such a big game. Now, if you go over there and it's like last year, but over there and you're putting up a fight, well, you know, that's a different scenario. But if you go down there and you take one, I mean, it was that big, I thought, for the Texas program.
Mm-hmm.
You know, third party.
Brandon, what was you were chiming in as well?
I was kind of sad. I wanted to actually go there and experience that game, just like I experienced the home game with y'all this year. So, but to your point, there were so many unknowns around the LSU team. I do think that y'all probably had a better chance than people might have realized to go in there and maybe steal one from them. But LSU still the reigning national champs at this point. So, in night game at home in Death Valley, who knows how it would have turned out.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we got to transition to conference only. And while you guys are here in the chat, but see, we're up over 50 folks now. I know it's early, and we actually started on time today, y'all. So, you know, I know everybody was like, everybody normally kind of strolls in 10, 15 minutes late, the whole nine, but we actually started on time. So we're just excited because the college football landscape. It's at this, you know, we were at one point 30 days away from Texas kicking off against USF. Now we don't know what our schedule is going to look like. And, you know, the excitement's there. You can see it on social media. You can see it in message boards. People just, and it's also the atmosphere that we're in our country dealing with what we're dealing with. So I will say this, with conference only, I want to go into what, you know, the expectations are going to be in terms of, and we talked about some of this on our prep, guys. What are the short-term and long-term ramifications? Starting with you guys in the SEC, because Brandon, Phil still had Texas A&M ranked 5th. Now, where are you guys in the coaches poll dropped today, right? So where are you guys?
We're 13th.
You're 13th. So yeah. People were high on y'all. A lot of it's schedule related, and I know one of the gentlemen from Aggie Central sent me a link that I need to go check out about the schedule and the cupcake. Y'all played arguably the toughest schedule last year, and then coming in this year, Kellen Mond being a senior, you feel like, hey, we Baylor Cup's coming back. We're healthier. We feel like this is our year to make a run. LSU's coming to College Station. I don't know how the rest of the games on your schedule line up, but just talk to me now with that big transition, conference only. What does that mean for A&M?
It means put up a shutout this year. Like you said, Kellen Mond's a senior, and last year I spoke in a preview and said, "Hey, this team goes as far as Kellen Mond takes us." He struggled. Some people would say he regressed a little bit, but this year, his senior year, I mean, he's trying to make some money, and I think he has a great opportunity, a great core around him. We return in 4 offensive linemen from last year. Not to mention, we got Damon coming in with Jamon Osmond on the outside, so Baylor Cup. Jalen, like we have the offense to succeed. And then you look at our defensive line with Bobby Brown and Leo and those guys, and we're actually big on the defensive line for the first time that I can recall in a while. Big and athletic guys. Secondary is we had a great recruiting class. So, I mean, it seemed like it was this perfect storm of everything coming together for Jimbo this year. I would have loved to have the early season games to kind of refine and make sure we're doing things or crossing our T's, dotting our I's, so to speak. But without that, we just kind of got to go in and see what happens. I mean, Arkansas right off the bat, anything can happen. But
yeah, they played y'all real close last year too.
They always play as close as we
yeah.
always win.
That game's always close.
Who'd you pick up? You guys picked up Missouri and Florida, right?
It's a great question.
I think Florida's definitely one because I think
it's
Florida's
not
coming
set. I don't think it's set for sure yet. Now they have an idea who we're picking up. Things like I think we pick up Tennessee and someone, but it's not released officially. How about
that?
I
haven't seen anything official, and the only thing I've seen really is speculation.
Okay.
Yeah. So short term, this is just my opinion, and y'all can weigh in. And I feel this way. I think, most of the eyeballs in the country are always on the SEC, whether you're an SEC fan or not. But I think this is going to be the case. However, the ACC goes down, Big 10, Big 12. People are going to like the structure of this, right? Being, especially if you guys are picking up Florida or Tennessee in additional conference games where there's not as much fluff in there from a week-to-week basis. And, I know the Big Ten came out with like kind of their timeline. I think they're playing Michigan or Ohio State, Michigan are playing in like October or something like that. So is this going to be successful in the realm of maybe we need to look at, I've been talking about realignment on this channel. Is this going to be kind of the new normal moving forward? I hate saying this most overused term at this point with COVID.
that's the one thing I wasn't hoping I was going to hear tonight.
The new normal. Take a sip.
That's the one thing I didn't want to hear.
I broke the rule. I'm sorry. You guys that are here in the chat, we only have 14 likes. That's unacceptable for almost 60 people in here. So make sure you hit that like button and show us some love in here. I'm looking through some of the comments. But yeah, weigh in, guys. I mean, what are your thoughts in terms of what this is going to look like?
I'd like to jump in on A&M, though.
Please.
To the guy
I'm listening. Quick turn by Brandon.
I'm listening.
He kind of got to hit the road on that. I think I would like to weigh in. My wife is a graduate of A&M, so I watch
smart lady
games. I think it's Texas and Texas A&M are very, very similar this year. Senior quarterback, a lot to prove. Is A&M going to take a step, in the right direction? They've been walking that line for a while. Is Texas going to take that next step? As far as A&M, it's Kellen Mond. You're right, Brandon. I mean, and you saw it last year. You're going to see it again this year. How good can he be? Can he take a step? And I think you have a lot of talent around you. I did see last year your defense got better. Let's exclude that LSU game. That nobody was winning that one. But
yikes.
Yeah, that was.
Once I saw Burrow, the way his name was spelled, I'm like,
They scored 14 points by kickoff.
I know. It didn't matter who walked into that building that night.
That's very true. It really.
You guys shouldn't have made those cups, man. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, we've been waiting on that one.
Sorry though, we're still the last team to beat y'all, so I'll take that.
That's fair. That's true. Fair. But no, I just think very similar teams. Texas A&M lineup. I think talent, quarterback situation. who can take a step. And I think that, A&M had a really big opportunity to do that with the schedule initially. With the change, some things are going to be different. And we'll see when it comes out how it lines up. But I think that just kind of quick piggyback. You're right. Kellen Mond is essentially make or break almost. You just got to take a step forward. And if he does, you might be able to piggyback LSU. I don't think your defense is there and the talent as far, but you never know.
I think we'll surprise a lot of people on defense. I
really
do.
I thought your secondary late in the year was getting much better. That was just kind of what I watched, but I like
Richardson was a all-conference freshman. He's coming back. Right. Miles on the outside as well with Elijah Blades. Like we got talent. I mean, we got Jalen coming in. I think our defense is going to be a little bit better than what people were probably going to expect from us.
What do you think going into doing kind of not a round robin, but playing 10 conference games, not getting the rest and health reasons for those young kids?
I mean, we played a majority of freshmen and sophomore last year, and I think that's going to kind of help us this year as far as our depth. Will the quality be there when we're rotating those guys in? Maybe not. We're yet to be determined, but I think we're probably in a better situation than a lot of schools just playing so many young guys last year. The SEC, especially the SEC West, is going through that schedule in general without any other games is brutal and physical in itself. And when you add in the Eastern competition, I mean, I think depth's going to play a crucial part, at least in our conference. So I think we'll be in a better situation than a lot of schools, but I mean, it's played on the field, so we got to wait and see what happens.
That's also one of the things that flips in college football, where it sucks when you're going through it, when you're playing all the babies and injuries are happening and things are happening, and people, because this is the same thing we're dealing with Texas on our defense, right? Like after LSU, almost everybody got hurt on defense, and so all of a sudden we're playing like to the point where in the Kansas game we talk about all the time, we needed walk-ons on the field to finish the game. Like that's how dire things got. But now when we come back in 2020, all these guys have starts. All these guys have snaps and game experience, even though guys that may be coming back as a redshirt freshman, but played 4 games and played a lot, right? So I think that's one of those things in college football where it's like growing pains, where you go through it a little bit, but then on the backside, you want to get your return. I'm going to ask you another question. From a playoff standpoint, do you think they should alter the playoffs this year? In any way, because I'd actually like to see a 6 or 8 game playoff, all things considered, in general. But I said this on the last video. If you haven't watched the last video, you need to go check it out, where we Tran and I touched on the one thing that Texas can do, as well as when we announced the Big 12 schedule update. So make sure you check that out and show us some love. However, in that video, we touched on, this is the time to experiment in college football, in my opinion, in sports in general. When things are already crazy as it is, and try to get data, try to accrue, maybe you stumble into something. Right now, different sports might stumble into something that fans really like, that really plays out well and, can shift. So I don't know. What are y'all thoughts in terms of, playoff structure at the end of the season?
I'll say that I would like for a change to be made, maybe expanding it, but I just practically, how would that look? How would it go about it? Especially since we don't know how, let's be honest, we don't know how COVID's going to affect the season. I like the idea of it. I'm just thinking practically here, how does that look? How does it play out?
It's tough, man. And Tran, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because we've talked about it in the background, but it's like we currently live in a world where we allegedly have a Power 5, but all 5 don't get access to the playoffs. So help me with this here.
Yeah, I like the idea of every conference champion gets one in and then a play-in game. Most likely it's going to be an SEC team, because that's always the only conference that legitimately has a shot for 3 different teams that could make it into the playoffs currently in the current structure. So I just like it that way. It just looks better. It has more parity. We get to see different matchups. Plus, to tell you the truth, the powers that be, what they're concerned about is money, and that's a easy money grab. And it will generate, because it will capture everyone's eyes. It doesn't, especially right now when everyone's stuck at home.
Great point.
Very good point.
Yep.
About
All
that.
about the Benjamins. All about the Benjamins.
I would. My take on it is I've always been in favor of 8 teams myself.
Me too.
Now that I look at it, 8 teams I think is the number. I used to think that conference champions should be in it. I don't think that way anymore. I think that it should be the top 7 teams and 1 guaranteed non-power 5 if they're within a ranking of top.
They're good enough.
12.
Yeah.
15,
Yes.
like top
Top
15, like they
15,
have.
yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're there, you get in. We're playing ball. Let's go. And I actually think it should be the top 7, and that's debatable, whatever. But at times in other conferences and this is more probably an SEC thing, but they're not necessarily deserving. Just because you won your conference championship, you might have lost 2 games, one to, whoever, and then another one to someone in the AAC. And so you might not necessarily be deserving. And honestly, with that we talked about earlier in the preview, I mean, Cincinnati, Memphis, SMU, is that conference better than the Pac-12? There's a chance there might be. And so
Chance.
fair enough. Touche. But I'm just saying, like, that's kind of what I look at. And so I think the numbers.
Billy, let me ask you a follow-up question, sir.
Yes, sir.
What changed your thinking? Because you said you used to think a different way.
Yeah.
So what were you thinking before, and why did you come over to 7+1?
Well, so initially I was like, all right, 6, right? But I had an issue because you play a full football season and then 2 teams, how long is that break? Okay, because they're going to try to stretch it out and they're going to turn it around to 2 weeks. So is that team sitting out a month? That just I don't know, the rhythm you're losing. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me if you're going to put the best product on the field. What makes sense to me is now looking at it, you get the top 7 and 1 non-power 5, and you line up and play. And I think that makes the most sense to me. You can still use that length of, the first 2 weeks, everybody plays. You take a week off after those first 2, and then you get your national championship. They get 2 weeks off, kind of week to heal. And especially this year, right? You're not playing as many games. And that's also dictating is everybody, are we keeping your SEC championship game, which I think you should, and the Pac-12 and the Big 12. I think it's important. And as college football changes, we're going to see some different things because there's conferences out there that are not considered, Power 5 that might be deserving at times. And so do we open it up to 7 or 8 conferences, kind of restructure and do some different things, or do we go to 16, which was talked about really heavy 4 years ago per conference? So there's some things to look at, and I think this year's telling of where we're going to go, who plays, how many games we get in. I think the number this year is 8. I think we do it. Like you said, this is an opportunity. It kind of opens it up for everyone, and you really have no excuses at that point, in my opinion. So
I'd love to see that. Really would, especially the +1 with the non-power 5 school. Because I mean, you think about that Boise team back with Oklahoma and what they could have possibly done. So I agree with that. I like that perspective.
It's also interesting too, because from a health standpoint, teams are in flux with what they can do right now to get ready for the season and what restrictions that are still in place. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that no one really had a full real spring, right? I mean,
yeah,
I don't think anybody got to the point where they were even able to have a spring game or spring showcase. So Tran, you've been hitting on this about the injuries and what it looks like for players now with the smaller schedule and maybe pushing things back maybe a few weeks that might be helpful from a strength and conditioning standpoint. But I guess right now we have to transition into the dark stuff, right? Like, what are our concerns about this season? Because, today we got more players that have decided to sit out or even declare for the NFL draft in 2021. We have guys that are still testing positive for COVID. Right before we jumped on, we all saw the tweet about Xavier Thomas from Clemson and Dabo Swinney talking about what the young man has been dealing with, and probably will miss it sounds like majority of the 2020 season. So, Tran, I'll start with you just in terms of what are your primary concerns? What could derail things? And then what would you, in terms of the overall leadership of college football right now, the impact?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is we start the season and then we just cancel it. That's probably the worst, I think, option that we could run through. I honestly think the death of a high-end coach, say Nick Saban caught COVID and he passed away. I mean, how detrimental to college football would that be? They would stop it right then and there. We're not going to see the best players in college football play because some of them are going to. We've already seen it. They're already tiptoeing out the door to NFL, and you can't really blame them. They've already tested the waters, and they've gotten their report back that they would probably be a top 2 round pick. That's guaranteed money. I mean, that's basically having a winning lotto ticket and them just not cashing it in. So I mean, those are the issues that I see that are going to be detrimental this season, and it's going to define the season.
Billy or Brandon, you guys can jump in.
I mean, the first 2 points are spot on. That the reality of it is the season play a couple games, and do they shut it down? And did a high profile, not only coach, but say something happens to a player, and it's unfortunate because players have died in seasons before, and no rhyme or reason. It's not trying to point fingers, and that's not why we're here. But
I think Jordan McNair from Maryland was the last one, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, and that was a bad situation. But unfortunately, in life, death is part of it, right? I think that these programs are having an opportunity to learn a lot from the NBA, MLB, hockey. The teams in England now are playing soccer, the Korean Baseball League. They should be getting all this data from every single league throughout the world and collecting it and putting a game plan together to put our kids, these young men,
yes,
and everyone in the best situation to be successful. And that's all you can ask for. It's one of those situations, and the old slogan, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And I think that you see a lot of due diligence right now. I feel like from what I see, a lot of coaches, because you got to realize these coaches have sat in front of these families and said, "Hey, I'm here. I'm going to take care of your kid." Like that's what they do,
Mm-hmm.
And so they also got to show these kids, "Hey, look, this is what we're doing." These young men are trying to grow. Now, as far as the sitting out situation, you do what you got to do. Would I personally sit out? No. If somebody wants to sit out, that's their decision. That's the good thing about this, okay? And that's the good thing about the world we live in. You have the opportunity to do what you want to do. And if that's what you choose, there's no problems with that. But understand you might like Trent said, it might be a lottery ticket. That person's guaranteed first rounder. I would say right now, I was looking at some mocks. Out of anybody who's sat out, I don't think there's a guaranteed first rounder in that crop. And that's just me personally.
The linebacker from Penn State, you don't think so?
He's going to be top 10, Billy.
Yeah.
Well, I was just looking at the top 10 guys. I'm just saying personally, and they're probably going to have one or two still. I'm just telling you that, in my opinion, if I
I get it. Yeah. I just think a lot of people are seeing what the Bosa guy did.
Right. I agree
was
with
it
that.
Nick or Joey?
It was Nick.
Nick, okay, yeah,
Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Nick, where he
that's
sat
when
out
Chase Young. That's when Chase Young came on.
Yeah,
right.
it didn't affect anything. So I think a lot of kids are seeing that and like, I'll just train for a full year,
right,
specifically for the combine, and put up great numbers. And then with the tape that I've done, I'm going to be guaranteed money.
It'll be interesting. I mean, they will affect college football for the foreseeable future, possibly, because if nothing comes of it, and they go to the league and they don't have the success, or they don't get drafted where they anticipated, well, But if they do, and then they do have success, well, there you go. So
I want to touch on something that Tracy Williams and Tracy, thank you for joining tonight. You always have some great comments, but Tracy said, what about the mask that are on the helmets, that full cover? Because you're seeing a lot of players, NFL and college, complaining about this. Is this the move? And he was talking about, if they make it a mandate that they have to wear it, how does that now that completely impacts the game, because guys aren't gonna be able to be on the field as long. So that's definitely something to keep an eye on in terms of some of the sanitization things, because even in baseball, they're switching out the ball all the time, equipment, guys are wearing masks in the field, but it's different. Football is completely different, like especially my big boys. I need my big boys to be able to breathe, man.
Right.
So
Right. They struggle as it is.
right.
I remember running sprints. They not happy about it. So
I think the only thing I was thinking about that the other day is the only thing that kind of it's still not the same, but in baseball, if you remember initially when people would break their jaw, they were having that attachment to the helmet. And you heard it at first from the guys. Initially, it was just uncomfortable because nobody had ever done it before.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing them that they do it on their own, because I believe what happens is you're putting your eyes can't go any lower, right? And so you're almost setting yourself up for a path. And I think right now these guys are experimenting with something new they've never had to do before. And it's going to take an adjustment. I mean, is it going to affect them? We're going to find out over the next couple of weeks. I know a couple of our boys were like, golly, I can't breathe, just like I can't breathe in this. But it was when they were first putting it on. So I think the jury's out on that one. I think that we'll find out. So.
That is still new. I mean, just as a player who wore Shield back in the day, it was kind of, I can only imagine if the bottom is, even with vents, if it's closed, because you worry about sweating inside, heat coming off or steam coming off your head, it's fogging up. How does that affect? So
Weather too.
Weather plays a huge part, because that actually takes mine off.
There were times where we definitely unscrew visors. So
got to take them off. Yeah. I think that might be the biggest part is the fog. That's my issue. I'm thinking is like when you're sweating, especially early on when it's so hot outside, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I agree with Billy on all his points. The only thing I could probably compare it to is probably hockey players wearing it, something like that. But I think it's strictly something that they have to get used to. I think it's more of it's probably more of a claustrophobic thing too as well. Because it's something that's blocking it. But I don't anticipate it actually really affecting your breathing, because you have a huge hole underneath the mask where the mouth comes out. But it's just something that they got to get used to.
Breathing can be perception sometimes too, Tran.
Yeah.
Like you have the ability to breathe just fine, but and that's kind of where your point of
the
being claustrophobic. Like all of a sudden your breathing rhythm is off. So how they practice with it and the feedback they give. I mean, again, with the situation we're in, the ingenuity, the innovation that comes up during times like these, for somebody to just pop up and be like, hey, I have a helmet, or hey, I have something that's like, I saw this machine, this contraption that the Denver Broncos were using when they were running out on the field, and it's like they're spraying some sort of chemical on them where it's like they can't get COVID for like the next 2 hours or whatever when they run out. Like, who created that? And why isn't that working?
Somebody has a lot of money.
Can I get some of that? Yeah. Can I get some of that? I mean,
So I do want to address one of the concerns I have too, is testing and how it's going to play out, and if there's going to be integrity in college football. I mean, with these coaches and them folks, if guys are, but with throughout the season, I'm just waiting for the first major person, because if kids are coming back on campus, or they're going to be like, they're not in a bubble. And that's the biggest thing, right? Like they're still going to be moving around and interacting with other people, no matter how confined they are. We saw this with baseball already when they were kind of confined initially when they came back and they were doing their training. But once you introduce travel, once you introduce like, hey, we're now in the regular season, this is something that, is a threat to us. And if a team goes through an outbreak or whatnot, does that game just get canceled like it would for like, horrible weather sometimes where they postpone a game or cancel it? is it a forfeiture? Like how are they going to figure that stuff out? And to Billy's earlier point, this is where college football needs to use the data from other leagues and, have protocols in place and be transparent with all of the conferences and the teams ahead of time before these issues arise. And now we have to try to figure things out on the fly. I would like to see them have some sort of plan already in place before we kick off to ensure that everybody is aware of what the new rules are going to be, at least for the 2020 season. So that's
So
just my 2 cents.
when you're talking about protecting the integrity, are you talking more so about say it's LSU Alabama game and Stingley catches COVID?
Now, why would you say that, man?
Like, I'm
I
just
like
saying.
you, dude. I like you.
I love Stingley, by the way. I love Stingley. But
Best DB in the SEC.
say he catches it, and they're like, let's turn a blind eye because I don't want Waddell smoking us all game.
Right.
Yeah, so is that what you're talking about? Like the integrity
That
of
is exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, we'll do it from a Texas perspective. Let's Sam.
Thank
We're
you.
playing Oklahoma. And Sam catches it.
Sam
And we're
comes
like,
down with
oh
it.
shit,
Yeah.
we gotta.
Right. Yeah. You
With
know
Herman's
what?
job on the line, I'm pretty sure he might try to sweep that if he could.
Hey, we've been.
I would try to sweep it.
I'm
playing for my job.
Dude, it's a concern, man. Some of these, you know how these coaches are, man. I mean, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
We might need it a little bit, though. You know what I'm saying? We might need a little bit of, toughness. That's what I like to call it. It might not be the worst thing in the world. As long as we don't have anybody pass away, that might not be the worst thing.
Well, they
Look at the
can't
long-term
have
effects.
that. Yeah, the long-term effects too. It's not. I don't think because too. It's like if a guy like some kid on Arizona now, it's not a whole lot of kids, right? Most of the guys are in their prime physically and just sprinting right through it. But there are guys who are struggling with it. Now I do, transitioning again, because and we'll jump back and forth because guys in the chat are weighing in terms of protocol. He said expecting the NCAA to have a plan beforehand is funny. It is.
Hey, ask the players in the Pac-12.
Penny Sewell is leading the charge, man. Who knows? They may just bow out and hit that portal, baby. Nobody's hitting the portal like A&M though. Well, y'all got like 14 brothers in there.
Hey, you know what? If they ain't gonna get no PT, I don't blame them. It is what it is.
Oh, it's typical Aggie response.
It's a good resource.
They weren't playing anyway.
I mean, hey, let's be real. It is. I mean, I know you ain't talking. How many 5 stars did you? Oh yeah, you don't want to bring that up, do you? Okay. Yeah.
One on mute.
We actually are we going to get to the national champs? Or are we just going? I mean,
talk your talk.
Are we going to be able to talk about the national champs? Or are we just going to keep circling the wagons?
I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish. But I want to know first off, when are you going to text me that you want to fire Scott Linehan? Go ahead, Billy. Floor's yours. National champs.
Whenever I get to my preview, I will answer that question.
No, your preview can start right now, sir. Go right ahead. We got nothing but time here. Go right ahead.
Well, I guess for me, I'm not that down on it. I don't mind Scott Linehan as a Cowboys guy. I don't think he was that terrible.
Yeah, you're a Cowboys fan. I think we're all Cowboys fans here. So I know how I know this is weird for you, where a guy gets fired from your pro team and then ends up on your college team. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna cut you off no more. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
In a different role. Let's make sure that's clear. In a different role. And to be honest with you, that's all fine and dandy. I just want to read through the players on LSU's team real quick, if you don't mind.
This man broke out a list.
Okay, I got my depth chart ready. Okay, listen. At the end of the day, we got the best cornerback in the nation.
Yes, I agree.
We got the best receiver in the nation. Okay, and if that's what we're starting with heading into the year, I'll take it. So to piggyback that, just kind of giving a rundown of our team. Obviously, Miles Brennan, we know that is a big kicker. Okay, if he can come in, he has played a lot of snaps. He's played some meaningful games. Bad situations for him. He got in a lot last year. Yeah, it's mop up duty, but hey, to me, every snap matters as you're preparing because the guys he's thrown to for 3 years. Okay, Joe Burrow just came for the last two, but Miles Brennan, Jamar Chase, Terrence Marshall, Racey McMath, they were not the starters. They were not the guys initially. So Miles Brennan threw a lot of balls to these guys. Okay, so that's one thing I like. Now he's the question mark. What can he do? We know that. So we'll see. The running backs, we're good. I love it. We got 3 guys that I think are very talented, that can do a lot of things. Now that is going. Can we find a guy who can catch the ball at the backfield like Clyde?
Yeah.
No, not right away. Can we develop one? Yeah, absolutely. I think Emory can do it very well. So we have some options, and that's
You guys got pissed off with Emory last year, though. Was it the pass pro stuff, or what was he?
Well,
what
he
was
got
struggling
Joe
with?
Burrow killed twice, and I think in pass protection, and coach was like, "Well, we ain't losing Joe Burrow, so
Yeah.
not getting in there, bro." Not
Curry,
right
you're up.
Yeah, that's what happened. But he picked it up towards the end. Curry played well. You got Price, so we got good options. Receivers, I mean, we're loaded, right? I mean, those 3. You're looking at, I think, 2 first-round picks. Racey McMath, who might, have one of the better frames and speed in the nation. Is he a 2nd or 3rd round pick? Possibly, yeah. Then you move in tight ends. Now we lost Pettigrew, who was our, senior coming in, but big boy, the recruit.
Eric Gilbert.
Yeah, he came in December, and so did Cole Taylor. There's another one there, freshman that's a stud. So they're getting a lot of work already. As far as O-line,
Eric Gilbert is getting a lot of national pub right now, and I did see where Coach O said that he also wants to use him at outside receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, situationally, probably more red zone stuff, but he was Gatorade High School Player of the Year and an elite prospect, right? So that's somebody who I think you'll see on the field a lot, in some capacity, whether he's in the slot, whether he's at tight end, whether he's outside. I mean, I'm actually personally excited to see the brother play on the big stage. But he's probably one of the top, up there with Bijan Robinson, honestly, of the guys that consistently are being mentioned as true freshmen that are going to have a major impact year one.
Yeah, and I heard Coach O said in a press conference that they want to use him like Calvin Johnson. Obviously, he's not Calvin Johnson, but just
I heard that comment. Yeah,
they want to throw him the ball where he gets it in the air, which I think that's intelligent. It's what we should do. Another question mark that people initially thought was our O-line. We got 4 of them drafted, but what people didn't realize is we had a lot of injuries and a lot of suspensions last year, so we played about 8 O-linemen and a lot of meaningful snaps, a lot of starts. We got the right tackle coming back, who's a hell of a player. You got Ed Ingram in there. You're looking; those dudes are going to get drafted this year. And you got Rosenthal coming in at left tackle, who they really like. We moved Chase Hines into guard, and we brought in a transfer. Coach O identifying issues to be a center from Harvard. So they like him. We'll see what he can do. Obviously, that's a big step up. But as a center, I think we all know you at that level, you need to be intelligent and you need to have your reads. And he's going to have to help Miles Brennan initially. So that I like.
Isn't that a concern though, without spring ball and having some of those extra practices? Because
absolutely,
we had this issue last year where we were all high on a guy, Parker Braun, and I'm not trying to sully his name for Texas fans, but he struggled in pass protection, and he came from Georgia Tech, where he was 2-time ACC, all conference, but it was in that triple option, that Paul Johnson offense, and then he came here, and he couldn't play off his back foot really, and he struggled with communication too. A lot of people don't realize, and I keep stressing this, it's not even just the physical, right? It's also like, how do I identify and how do I communicate to my center, my tackle? Hey, I'm gonna pick this up. He's letting blah blah blah. So, you mentioned the guys from Harvard, and he's probably really really smart, but it
Well,
is going to be a
Chase
transition.
Hines played center the year before because Cushenberry was hurt. So he got a lot of snaps there. So he really is he's a center, but we think he with our line at this point. So if that happens,
they're trying to get him drafted too. Hines,
Right.
that is. Yeah, they're trying to get him drafted.
If they see something going on, I would be don't be surprised if you see a quick hook. Because they'll insert, they have, a couple other guys that are waiting in the wings right there. So don't be surprised on that. But yeah, that's a great point, and it's a valid point. We just hope they're putting in the work right now. I'm going through the squad. Defense. Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. So first of all, it just starts with one in the middle, and if you don't know his name, you're going to find out his name. Tyler Shelvin will be a first-round pick, and you can book it. Set on here first. The boy is bad.
Why? Why is he going to be a first-round pick?
He can penetrate interior. He holds blocks. Like he just can play. He's agile on his feet. I mean, you go watch games, you're like, who this big boy? I mean, he can play. Like he could just he does what you would want any interior lineman to do. And he was doing that in a 3-4, right? As a head-up nose tackle. Now he gets to move to a D tackle position. I think that you're going to see him take a step. And, you look at mocks and their mock drafts, and they already have him in the first. But he's a bad boy. And we bring back Neil Farrell. You bring back Thomas. The DN position last year, some of those guys from last year, because we had some injuries last year too. I mean, we didn't go the whole year with no injuries by no means. The question mark of the defense was linebackers. Well, being Coach O who he is, we get the transfer from North Dakota State, who, they thought maybe this year, and, it's all speculation. He didn't go pro, but, 3 to 5.
There was a lot of talk about the brother Cox, right?
Yep.
Yeah, about him going pro.
Yeah.
But I just don't think you can just speed past like Alex, who is an A&M fan, is bringing up here in the chat. Y'all got 14 people drafted? Like,
I thought
you're just gonna
17.
Yeah, like how many people got drafted last year?
It was a ton.
Yeah, so like I hear
set
what
a
you're
record.
saying about the defensive ends, but I don't see a Kalavion Chase on out there. I mean, I don't see Patrick Queen out there anymore.
Well, you might. You haven't seen Jabril Cox yet. You might.
I get that, but I'm just saying collectively that there's going to be a ramp. Like we saw those guys play and develop into what they became, right? And so now you're saying Jabril Cox is different because he's a transfer, but the other guys, yeah, they've played in situations or rotations, but Patrick Queen, all those other guys were starting and whatnot. Now I know you're going to get to Stevens and some of those guys on the back end that will kind of pick up the slack for Grant Delpit, but Billy, you can't just go through the whole depth chart without just.
Hold on. No,
I think you're speaking to a lot of potential there, Billy, but potential is just bad until it's realized.
Tyler Shelvin, Justin Thomas, Glenn Logan, Neil Farrell, Andre Anthony,
like Glenn Logan.
All played big minutes last year. Huge minutes. They're back. That's 6 people I just named. Now, do we have the athlete at the DN position that, really affects the game right now? No, we do not. I agree with that. That is a question mark that we have to find someone. We got a couple big-time freshmen that are here that are going to get some big-time opportunities. I always thought going into the year that the linebacker was the biggest question mark this year. I think we addressed it as best you can with this guy. He's talented. Obviously we'll see what happens. Then, you go to your corners. Well, we know, Stingley's on one side. Okay.
Is Derek Stingley Jr. the best defensive player in the country? Yes or no?
I mean,
player.
He might be the best player in the country.
I see. I would, especially with Micah Parsons bouncing.
Yeah.
Russo's bouncing from Miami. I mean, it's kind of becoming like, who else would you even put into that conversation? Just the way that Stingley performed last year. That's the guy where I'm like, especially what he offers you, because people are going to be terrified to throw the ball over there now.
Right.
It's gonna turn into what happened with Okudah this year, where like the last 8 games, no one threw at him after the Nebraska game. Like people just stopped trying it, right? So I can see that happening with Sting, because last year, you had, my good friend Christian Fulton on the other side, and it's like, hey, we have to try a true freshman. Like maybe he'll slip up. Like the only, he got whatever
Alabama
the sideline thing happened with Alabama and Smith. I know the Alabama guys will try him because they need that tape.
Well, they got talent. They can do it.
Yeah, they have talent. And if you play Georgia again, I would love to see him again against George Pickens, who's quickly becoming one of my favorite players.
As long as he gets it between the ears.
Yeah. Stops getting in trouble. But overall, like, Derek Stingley Jr., in my opinion, is the best defensive player. I wouldn't say he's the best player in the country. I mean, I think Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, those type of guys.
He might be. I agree. But
So
you got Flott over there. Then you got the number 1 corner in the nation who came in, Elias Ricks, right? But we still have Carey right there in the middle, right? So he's going to, like, he plays our slot. He played it last year. He'll probably move a little bit to safety.
Devin Duvernay ate him up, though.
Oh yeah. Well, Duvernay ate up everybody.
He ate up everyone. That's not even fair.
I mean, every corner he saw last year, he was giving it to him.
Yeah, Duvernay was fantastic last year.
And then you got
Gary Vincent, what Baylor missed.
Todd Harris.
Makes me think what we missed for first half of his career.
Yeah, that's true.
We're ready, bro. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but we're ready, man. I mean, we have a good team. We really do, and I think ranked number 5.
I mean, you guys always
this. I said
what
you're saying. I said last year, and it didn't come to fruition. But I feel where you're coming from.
Well, that's A&M though. That ain't never happened. LSU.
Like you predicted. Come on, man. Like you predicted your run last. Well,
no, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. There's been 4 national titles in the last 20 years. It's not like it just happened. We've been claiming these things, and that's a long span to be in national title games.
Your offense just happened, Billy. Your offense has been
seriously.
I mean, come on. The defense,
9 to 7.
When it comes to defense and it comes to overall talent and sending and people in the league, because even offensively, y'all have had people go to the league for a minute. That's not new. The defense is not new. What was new was that offense.
I agree. It won't be the same.
So when I'm taking away a Joe Brady, going back to where we started this whole thing, when I'm taking away a Joe Brady and I'm replacing him with a Scott Linehan, and I'm taking away Joe Burrow and I'm insert Miles Brennan, that's why you guys are number 5 on the coaches poll, by the way.
That's the kicker. I agree. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm in agreement. I'm just telling you what we have. And now, are we going to repeat? Probably not. Do we have a chance? Yes. And that the defense and then special teams. I think last year we got a punter. He's back again. Senior, he's really good. We got the kicker back.
Your freshman kicker was really good last year too.
Look, those pieces, you got to break down every single phase, because if you're going to win a national title, you better be good at pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Question:
What are you most worried about?
Oh, go ahead, Tran.
I was just asking, what is he most worried about? I mean, he's listed off everything.
Everything's great.
No.
Everything's great.
No. I already said the quarterback position is obviously the biggest worry. The DN is really the kicker. We need a presence because I think what we're going to be able to do with the D line is stop the run, anything up the middle or inside the tackles. Now, what can we do outside on the D line? That's my question mark now. I think we addressed our linebacker. From what I'm seeing and hearing, I like that guy Cox. I think he's going to help, but DN is something that we're going to need somebody to take a next step.
What about the scheme changing?
It's not going to change. Look, I don't know if you know Coach O. Coach O, look, if you don't understand, like, he's trying to win. He's not.
No, I get that. I mean,
he changed
he's
everything.
An intense player.
Yeah, like he changed everything. He brought in Pelini because he's like, our defense got to get better. We weren't very good last year. Now we had a lot of injuries.
Oh, that's one that brings up another good question. Bo Pelini and for Dave Aranda, upgrade, kind of indifferent, or
push.
Push. Okay.
Yeah,
push.
Yeah, I think it's fair to
I
say
mean-
it's a push. I mean, Pelini, he won a national title with us as a D coordinator. Played, he did well in Nebraska, and they haven't done anything since he left. So, I think overall defensive coordinator is probably a good fit for him. We are changing schemes. We're coming from a 3-4 to a 4-3. So that
might actually help out with your defensive backs actually, so that won't be
right.
terrible. Brandon, I think I cut you off on. I didn't know you were going to ask a question. I'm sorry about that.
No, it wasn't a question. It was just we were talking. I mean, would you put an asterisk aside from the national champ this year or next two?
Ooh, that's a tough one, Brandon.
Only if college, like we were talking about earlier, and college got canceled and you claim it.
Yeah.
Would totally do that.
Yeah.
A&M would
Hey,
somebody.
if we're ready on the field and y'all guys don't want to step up and play,
we're still playing. We're the national
I'm just saying,
champions.
if we're ready to play and you don't want to play us, that's not our fault. We're all in the same situation.
I like it.
y'all see who we have to deal with when we have Aggies in the room. They over here claiming spring games as a dub. On the website.
Did we not win? It's a yes or no.
Oh my goodness, you guys are insufferable sometimes.
I didn't even hear it. What happened? Please, I need to know.
Oh no, Tran and I were making fun of Brandon as we do, and just friendly banter. And Tran asked Brandon, what was it, a few days ago? You asked, what would you ask him?
I said because this was when Connecticut announced that they weren't playing anymore. And I said, so if everyone cancels their season and A&M decides they still want to play, are they going to claim that as their national championship?
And how did I respond?
You said, yes, absolutely.
Proudly.
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone cancels and we don't want to. I'm just saying, if everyone else cancels and we're not canceling, hey, everyone's in the same boat. That's your choice to make.
2020 national champs.
But to that point, I will say this. What is college football without fans? Because Penn State recently said they're playing without fans. How does that change college football, especially when you talk about momentum and just atmosphere?
Might as well just you might as well go to a neutral site, honestly, than if you're going to do that, because it just defeats the purpose, because everyone loves college football because of the rivalries, the fan rivalries especially, and just the atmosphere, like we talked about with LSU, that it's legendary. So I mean, losing that, it loses a piece of the game, honestly. But to answer your first question about an asterisk, I don't honestly think it would be an asterisk, because I think it's going to be a little bit harder if you have to go through your own conference, more conference games.
We did win 15. We rolled through all y'all.
Yeah, you did.
That was unbelievable. I just wanted to say, we are the national champs. Last year, we beat y'all on the road.
Yeah, you did.
Your boys, Oklahoma, for y'all.
You woodshedded Oklahoma.
Damn, y'all just dropped another TD before I came into the room on OU.
God.
See, those type of beatdowns though can mess a program up. Don't hear me out. Like OU, look, I'm not trying to throw shade or anything. They've won 5 in a row in our conference. That's embarrassing for us, in my opinion, based on this burnt orange I got on my chest. However, when you go through a traumatic beatdown in the fashion on in a playoff game with the whole world watching, with a month to prepare, and that was the product you brought out on the field, at what point does that affect your program psychologically? So I'm just going to throw that out there. I know some of you people are going to get mad at me. I don't care. I'm just saying that can have a psychological impact down the road, because I've never seen a team get destroyed like that in a game of significance. That reminded me of like Nebraska, Florida in like 96 or 95. It was like 95, 96 when Tommy Frazier,
we went through all these.
Like when Tommy Frazier like kicked the dude in the face and ran for like a 75-yard touchdown.
That was embarrassing.
So I've never seen nobody, like, even when like people were making fun of Notre Dame when they got cranked by Clemson the year before, and then Clemson went and cranked Alabama, so then Notre Dame kind of got off the hook, right? That Oklahoma, like Joe threw 6 touchdowns the first half? Yeah. Like, come on, man. Like that's a different level.
At 4.
Yeah. So, and I know they're gonna come on here and be like, "Well, we whooped your ass in the combo, man. So shut up, man." Yeah, I get it. I'm just saying, psychological impact. I'm trying to reach for stuff so my team can get up on that stage.
I like it.
So
Hey, I was on
I'm reaching.
I was on my honeymoon at that point, so we were gonna win that game. I mean, just saying.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
I mean,
It's always great when your sports teams do well in moments of
right.
of important things happening, whether it's you getting married or your child's being born. Like my cousin got married on Sunday, and he's a Rangers fan, and they've been sucking, and then they beat the Giants randomly. So I was like, hey, that happened for you, man.
I was scared. I was scared. I want to say the Clemson when they got out on us early. I was a little not scared. That's not true because I knew we were going to score.
No, your first answer was honest, the honest one. But go ahead.
Well, it was worrisome for sure, but then I thought about it and I was like, no, we're going to score 40. They better score 40. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of I had to think about it because you got to realize LSU, dude, we're not like we've always been so conservative. You know, we've been trying to change it over the last couple of years, and you saw it evolving over the last 2 years. And then finally last year, actually having, the kahunas to really open it up. That was the thing that we just never even did it. And that's the sad part. That's why Les Miles was people were just so angry with him the last 5 years. It was just stale, but after thinking about it.
Man, I'll definitely concede that there's never been a lack of talent at LSU.
No,
not my lifetime.
No.
I do want to give a quick thing to the chat, guys, and I think this is Alex Bullis that said USC OU in 04. That was another savage one. I remember them because Adrian Peterson was out there, and then they were trying to change their cleats. Right. I remember they said the grass, it was something was happening, and Jason White was at quarterback, and that was like when the NFL said no thanks. And, it was a bad look, that 04 game. Now
we beat them the year. I think we beat them the year before.
Yeah, y'all beat them for the 03. Yeah, for the national championship then. So, guys, a bunch of people have come into the chat. Make sure you hit the like button for all the new folks that have jumped in. If you're not subscribed or you jumped on from Twitter, appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and show us some love.
What's up with the Pac-12? Not to cut you off, but they're not playing, period.
Who wants to go first on Billy's question?
What's up here?
Tran, jump in.
I don't know. Everybody's just laughing. We're just like, what the hell?
I was like, I've never seen such a soap opera from far away on a conference. Jesus, man.
Bunch of, I don't even know. Yeah, that's why I just kind of asked it with a grin and a laugh because I don't know if there's an answer to it.
It's
have they been playing the past few years?
Touche. Touche.
Tough crowd. Let's answer your question, Billy, because I do want to get back to the atmosphere question because I had some thoughts there too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sorry.
But and the Pac-12, it seemed like before the players with the hashtag We Are United, the joint statement and the campaign, that they were kind of organized. That was the perception I was getting. Tran mentioned Washington State earlier. Then you start hearing about, well, they've really haven't been transparent with us about testing and whatnot. And I think where people are getting frustrated is that they kind of try to parlay their concerns, or they're trying to parlay their concerns into demands in terms of, name, image, likeness, which is coming across the board. And if if Florida does it, then all the other states are going to do it. And it's overdue. It shouldn't have waited till COVID came along to figure that out. And I've stood fast on this stance. I don't want the colleges paying the players. That's not what that means. But they can go out and get what they're worth. We live, and I thought we lived in a free enterprise, capitalistic society. If you have the ability to go out, we're teaching these kids about. Tran, you mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, if they want to keep the money in escrow till they get out or whatever they want to do. I think name, image, and likeness is on its way. However, guys, I also think that have been in quarantine for a long time, especially on the West Coast, where things have been very, very stringent, and they've, whether they're around their families more than they usually are, it's an emotional time. The protesting going on, like all these things that they're wrestling with, And it's like, damn, we got to go back and play football, which we love, and that's what we're here for. But why can't we use this opportunity to get what we're worth? I see where they're coming from. I don't agree with them getting everything that they want. Same thing with the Texas demands too. Like everybody wanted to throw shade at me, and I'm like, hey, we got to. There's a place, and Greg McElroy said this. They had a great interview. Greg McElroy and Danny Kanell. Greg McElroy said it perfectly. There's a place in the middle where everybody can meet. You can make them happy. We can get back on the field. There's a lot of money to be made. If there wasn't TV contracts or anything, we would be having this discussion, right? So we give you the exposure. Y'all give us the product. It's very, very simple. So y'all can weigh in on that. This is my 2 cents.
You hit it on the head. I don't think there's much else I could add to it.
It's just it's been frustrating, man. Well,
there's got to be a line, right? Like, you got to be careful here. Everybody involved. You got to, the problem is we're as a society, we're not very good at opening our minds, sitting down together and having a conversation where somebody gives a little bit and somebody gives a little bit, right? And that's how you develop an agreement. Mm-hmm. And so we struggle with that. It's like, oh no, this is what I want, and this is without this, I'm not doing it.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, like that. I don't know if it's like you got to go back to, you got to really look at it with a clear mind. I think that there's no reason at this point that individuals can't make money off themselves. Okay, they do have to realize, though, the reason they have this opportunity to make the money off of themselves is through college sports, like you touched on with McElroy.
Huge platform.
Yeah, like you can say, oh, you should, but you have to understand you have this opportunity due to this, and so if you're looking at it clearly, you have to understand that. And in my opinion, getting a free education, whatever you want to call it, and that's getting paid to a degree. Now, we don't look at it as going in your pocket, but do you pay someone and then they have to pay for college? Well, now we're looking at, are they paying their dues? What are we doing? It's just, I think that we start in a good situation where it's based off of your likes, your wherever that might be. That's where you start and you evaluate it. And I think that a lot of people will be happy with that. We just have to make sure it's not pro sports. And so at the same time, with TV contracts, like you said, and things of that nature, you really have to understand the difference. And that's also including schools. And a lot of the money does, benefit the schools, and they build nice, places to go to school, and you're getting, and it's a great time. And let's not lose sight that college it's fun, dude. Like, college is fun. Okay. And it's supposed to be like, you're supposed to go enjoy yourself. You're supposed to go learn and grow and mature. And so, I just don't want to lose sight of that. I think that that's a very important part of life, and whatever that might be. So.
And also, I do think there needs to be some better financial models or planning in the room that are mediating between the two parties. So, and I got this idea again. Greg McElroy, he was on one that day when I was listening to. Yeah, because he's a reasonable guy, and one of the things he said was, "Hey, let's name, image, likeness. Let's have that conversation, right? Like, how many of y'all are really getting bread? Like, Trevor Lawrence is going to get paid. Sam Ehlinger is going to get paid. Justin Fields is going to get paid." He was like, Alabama offensive line or Oregon State offensive line, you guys are going to be going to do a birthday party. You'll sign some autographs and they'll give you a few $100. That's what it's probably like the most realistic way that's going to look. You're not going to get the same bread that Sam Ehlinger can generate with his 1 million+ Instagram followers. It's not going to be equal. And that includes women's sports, that includes college basketball, everybody. If you're if we had the Olympics this year, and then how they become big stars, whether it's Katie Ledecky or Ohashi that was at UCLA. Yeah, she could get paid, right? But is everybody on the team going to get paid, or is it going to be more like a position group thing, right, where we do certain engagements or appearances? I have no problem with them getting paid on that stuff. They should, in my opinion. I think that's actually a little pocket money that they can have. But realistically, you're not going to have a full income. Most guys. Some guys will, but most guys. So they also somebody needs to have that type of stuff to just set expectations, I should say.
Well, it's a whole new world, and
kids.
you're right. I mean, because I don't think that that's really discussed in the conversation. It's more just, oh, they should be able to make some money off themselves. Okay, I agree. But we have to understand that, like, not everybody's, the same is going to, same demand. They're, what they're going to get paid, how they're going to get paid, what are they doing? That's where you got to be careful. What are the appearances? And it's an education, and you're right. Sitting someone down, educating them just on financials, giving them, because you're teaching a whole new perspective. Are you going to have tax fraud? Like, there's
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
You
just
are.
saying.
100% you are. No, that's not even a question.
1,000%.
Yeah. Like, everything's going to be under the table. Like,
that's
like
what I'm saying.
You're gonna have tax
I know
fraud, that's good.
someone emailed us not too long ago, and I put forth a proposal that will never be seen. But
You did. I saw it.
It's like,
I saw your proposal.
you're gonna see institutions, like higher end institutions, LSU, A&M, Texas. They're gonna hire like a team of agents that actually do these bookings for them, and that's gonna be a way to sell. That's going to be a way to sell the recruits. Hey, we got this person who's going to set up. We have the T-ring fund. We have the
Facts.
and
none of that is through the school.
none of it's through the school. But at the same time, I think honestly they should have a salary cap on what they can actually earn, and they should actually report it. And I think legitimately, 40% of their earnings should go into an escrow, and this allows them to actually learn how to budget their money and actually protect their money for when they actually go to the NFL, or if they go to the NFL, and that way they come out in the plus, completely in the plus, regardless if they go pro or not.
Yeah,
I was thinking about something right then when you were talking about putting in an escrow, learning how to manage money. What about big players who get insurance? Would it affect that? This type of proposal?
it's a good question. I don't
should.
know if it would. I don't know
They're
if it
paying
would.
the insurance though,
Yeah, that's
regardless.
separate.
That's only if
Usually
they,
the institution does, but if you give the opportunity for that student
I thought the
athlete to
institution
then
they took that away from it, that the institution couldn't pay for it.
I don't think they can.
Yeah, I know, I know, Brandon, but
right. Touche on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, as we get ready to wrap here, if y'all have, we can go to the 1:30 mark if y'all have another 15 minutes in y'all or so. If
Sure.
'cause this has been fun to
Yeah.
talk about, and
I'm enjoying it, man. Talking sports.
Yeah. That's what we do, man. And
Yeah.
John, appreciate you showing love in here. I saw you post about your website earlier and getting that fired up. And Alex has had some good comments here. Always repping Aggies, Brandon. You have some reinforcements in the chat.
gig them, baby.
Yeah, it's just it's a fascinating world that we will have to navigate. I do think that they will have to have, whether it's, I'm going to say this too, whether it's the NCAA that's the governing body, or if the Power Fives, which I think will happen within the next 5 to 10 years, just leave and say we're going to start our own business. Whatever is the governing body, there will have to be rules to abide by in place to TransPoint. You can't just, because Alex said, well, what happens if you want to give, and Alex in the chat said $100K to a recruit to come to A&M for a commercial or whatever, right? Like there's wild things like that where it could happen, where it turns into like SMU Pony Express type of stuff, right? Where it's just, you have these people with money who are so desperate to win, and then you tell them, hey, if I can get us this kid, Coach Herman, I'm willing to give it up, right? So we have to do the things that that we know are happening under the table, even right now. Let's be real, even right now, where, hey, if you ain't cheating, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. How do we bring that to the surface and regulate it? No different than marijuana and casinos and gambling that turns into the lottery system. How do we regulate it, tax it, manage it to where at least it's out in the open and we can better see? And I love the point of helping guys financially, because the other thing, and the last one I want to have until we move on to coaches poll, my heart does go out to guys like Eric Crouch that made a whole lot of money for Nebraska and didn't get to do diddly squat in the NFL. Like, and was never going to be like, I remember watching him in Nebraska. I'm like, everything, as great as he was, or as great as Tommy Frazier was, they're not going to be NFL guys, but like they were worth everything to their state or their school or their area. And so not like there's only a handful of guys in the grand scheme of things that are really going to get that NFL opportunity, that are really going to get to make money. And then when they get there, there's like an average of what, 2 to 3 years that they even get to play. Right. So it's just the guys that have been great college players, and we all have that guy that we wish could have made it. We all have that guy, that we still talk about to this day. And it's just like, damn, well, at least we could have gave him his flowers when he was at the school. So that's pivoting to the coaches poll. Clemson's number 1. I think they got majority of the votes, and I actually don't have the poll up here. So if one of you brothers can help me out with the top 5, and we can.
Do you want me to share?
Guess from there.
I just gonna say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Let me know when you see it.
Sounds like we're at work.
I know, right? We are at work though. This is fun work though.
Hey, man.
All right.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So Clemson, 38 first place votes. I'm not really surprised with the top 8 teams. I actually think Florida might be a little low, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Considering what they're bringing back, and
Possibly.
I think Florida's a little low. I like a lot of
Florida. Where would you move them?
I would have Florida above Penn State.
Yep, I'd have them
now.
above
Granted,
Oklahoma as well too.
I'm assuming this poll was done. I don't know when the coaches, when the votes were done, but I'm assuming this was before the Micah Parsons announcement, because that's going to drop Penn State out of the top 10
easily
alone. I would have Florida over OU.
Yep, I'd have them in the top.
I would probably have OU at 7, and I would have Florida at 6.
Yep,
personally. But then people are going to say that's 4 straight SEC teams, Steve. Right? Like, so
but look at the quality of these teams. Look at the quality of these teams, though. I mean, LSU won the national championship last year. Georgia won the Sugar Bowl last year, and they're getting an upgrade from that trash quarterback.
That Georgia quarterback battle. That Georgia quarterback battle, though.
Take a step forward, dude. That was.
I'm just not. My fandom of what's his name is not very good. Very high. Yeah, by the way. Yeah, thank you. He's trash.
The JT Daniels versus Jamie Newman quarterback competition is either gonna propel them to either, if Jamie Newman is Cam Newton light or JT Daniels realizes his full potential, because JT Daniels technically will be a better fit in his name is slipping my mind, but the offense that they're running.
He had a great first year at USC.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, and then he got hurt. Yeah. Right. And Slovis took that money. So
my question would be, Georgia doesn't have a quarterback. We have someone who's been in our system for 3 years.
Georgia has 2 quarterbacks.
No, hold on.
Okay.
They have 2 options at quarterback. We don't know if they're going to perform well there or not. That's fair. LSU, we have a quarterback who's been behind Joe Burrow. Quarterback room got better, period.
Georgia's quarterback room is better than LSU's quarterback room. You stop it right now, Billy.
Well, no, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, so how is Georgia ranked higher than LSU? Straight up.
I'm assuming that since they're going to have a head-to-head, Alabama. Assuming that since they're going to have a head-to-head together, they're assuming that Alabama is going to be favored there. That they're going to just drop Georgia right in front. That's my assumption.
Fair enough. I think that's a valid question. If you really, if you're going to tear it apart that deep, to me, I wish LSU was ranked 8th or 9th, because usually you win a national title and the next year you're in a situation of kind of, what do you have to prove? Well, we have a whole new regime. We have a whole new team. We got a bunch of players drafted. We were fortunate enough to have some good players still and in good position. So I think we are motivated. which is a factor I don't think that a lot of people realize, but we're motivated. And so that doesn't usually happen in defending national champs a lot of times. Now, Alabama, they don't count because, good Lord. So
Reloaded.
they're just, we're not even really talking about Alabama, and they're going to be good too. I mean, I'm a big fan of actually one of the guys I'm a fan of is the quarterback at Alabama.
Mac
I
Jones.
thought what he came in and did last year at the end of the year was impressive. I mean, he and they still functioned really well. I mean, against Auburn, they put up points, and that game kind of throw away. But he threw some picks and had some, but he was still battling, and that was his first real big game, and that was always. I thought that was promising, and now they got that young freshman in the building, so we're gonna find out. They're a team that's kind of we wouldn't be surprised if they win it, right? Because they're still loaded, but
it's interesting you bring up the freshman Bryce Young because he might. There's a lot of people that think he's a better prospect than Tua was when Tua came out, right? Remember Tua won Elite 11. Right. I think Bryce Young won Elite 11. And the way, like the vibe around Bryce Young at the U.S. All-American game, it's just like, okay, this guy's the guy, right? Like the way you can tell when how the kids react around a guy, right?
Trevor Lawrence-esque kind of.
When Brockermeyers, when they committed and they said they had been on the phone with him and they kept talking about Bryce Young being involved in their commitment and him recruiting guys. Like when you have that high profile quarterback who a lot of people think is Russell Wilson 2.0 and he's the dynamic leader and all that type of stuff, it does put a lot of pressure on Mac Jones. Now, Mac Jones had a hell of a bowl game against Michigan as well. And Nick Saban being still, even though he's adapted to the spread and hopefully, Sarkisian is in good health and spirits. I know he's been struggling with some health challenges, but their offense should be humming with all the wide receivers they have, and they still got Najee in the backfield.
They're going to score 50 a game. I mean,
so this is going to remind me of like the whole Jalen Hurts that year when he was being pushed by Tua. And he kind of held the job all the way to the national championship game, the second half, right? Like I could see something similar playing out with Mac Jones there because he's feeling like, hey, I just came off a balling out at the end of the season after Tua went down I was clearly ready when called upon, but now y'all got this stud behind me. But that's how Bama works anyway.
Yeah,
at all the positions.
And they thrive on competition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Enough about them. Let's talk about who's overrated. Actually, before we get to that, we haven't even talked about our own teams, Tran and Brandon. So, Tran, how you feeling about Texas at 14?
It's fine with me. I mean, I don't think we've justified anything high. I honestly wouldn't mind just being in the top 25 at this point. I just don't like the hype of us being pushed up like year after year in the top 12 every single year and then just us falling out. So being in the top 14 is fine. I think we have actually the infrastructure where we could just easily go up the list because honestly, if we win, we're in type of thing. And I think it's the same for all of our teams because of our brands. So that's why I don't really put much into preseason polls at all.
Sure.
Because all that matters is the product that's placed on the field.
It's funny because this poll is so different from the Big 12 poll, Tran, or the Big 12 preseason poll that came out, and they have us finishing third. They have Oklahoma State ahead of us, but here Oklahoma State's behind, right? So I like that motivation of us being in that particular spot because the pressure, not the pressure, you have to play with pressure. You have to play with expectations. If you want to be a big boy, if you want to sit at the big boy table, if people think you're good, be good, right? And Texas needs to get with the program with that. I'm tired of us saying, oh, well, people overranked us or blah, 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 and then they thought they were going to be good and we weren't good. That's a Tom Herman problem, right, that he needs to address and fix, and getting the team to play up to expectation and consistency every single week, right? Like there's other teams that are doing it, and we have, to your point, the infrastructure in place to do that as well. But at the same token, as a coach, I can pull that chip on the shoulder talk when it's like, yo, they don't even have y'all going to the Big 12 championship game. They have an all Oklahoma Big 12 championship game. So the people that know us the best don't think we belong. What are you going to do about it? Right.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of my energy about this. Brandon, I will let you chime in because they do this stuff all the time where they always have us right next to each other. I've noticed. Go ahead, Billy.
One quick question regarding Texas before we go to the Aggies. Tran, where do you sit today with the talent within the Texas program?
This is the most comfortable I've been in years. And it goes all to every single position that we're looking at. We have leadership at every single position group. Defensive back, linebacker, D-line, offensive line, quarterback, running back room is stacked. The only one that doesn't really have a leader on there is our wide receiver group, but we're very deep with our wide receiver group. So it's going to be
they haven't. Yeah, I agree with that. Totally agree.
What's the depth like in the interior of your D-line?
We've got some pretty good players. The only issue I'm worried about is once. Well, I mean, what do we have? We have Sweat right behind Keandre.
Right behind, yeah. So you talked about to Billy's point earlier. You spent forever and a day talking about how good Tyler Shelvin is, and that's justified. That's justified. We think Keandre Coburn can get there.
He's a grown ass man.
And the difference though, Billy, and you've seen us have good interior linemen in the past. Puna Ford was a good football player and has proven that in the NFL. The difference is we haven't had a rotation. Like Alabama Alabama was rotating people in and out, and it was like there's no drop off when people were leaving the field, right? And even going back to when, you look at the draft, it reflects that. So are we at that point? No. But are we at the point now where it's like if Keandre Coburn comes off the field, Trent just mentioned Tavondre Sweat. He's 348 pounds now. Also, our defense is being constructed to where we have the big boys up front to allow our linebackers to flow a lot better so they're not messing around with trash all the time.
Right.
So that's going to be a big part of this, shifting to a 4-3. That was something, Billy, you talked about in the preview video a year ago.
I've been saying that.
You've been saying that, right? So now we have, I say 4-3, but it's more of a 4-2-5 probably with the way we play.
It makes more sense. Yeah.
But absolutely. Having a 4-man front, having a real 3 technique, because we have some freshmen that are going to be dogs coming in too. We have a Vernon Broughton. We have Alfred Collins, like Gorm Welsh. Like there's guys we can rotate. Moro Jomo is a year older. These are all really good football players who were either high-level freshmen or people that had to play a lot, baptism under fire.
Right.
Now, and then I couple that with, and this is where you were talking about, y'all are lacking that edge rusher right now that hasn't yet identified themselves, kind of replacing Chason and Divinity.
Yeah.
But we have that with Joseph Osai.
Oh, yeah.
Couple with those guys. We do have that coming in. So that's what really when people ask me about the defensive line, I used to shy away from it. I'm with Trent. I'm excited to talk about defensive line.
So the issue with the 3-3-5 with us was Keandre was definitely the anchor and the center point of our defense. He would legitimately stonewall double and triple teams. And he's 340 pounds and he has a motor on him. If you watch, there's a couple plays in the Georgia game. If you watch it,
this freshman year,
the running back gets by him and he chases him down and shoestring tackles him.
It was swift. It was swift on Georgia. We're better. We're better there than we've been in years from a depth standpoint. And depth is going to win somebody the national championship this year with COVID, right? Because depth now, it's not just if you get injured, it's if you test positive and you're out of the lineup now for 2 weeks, right? Do you have a kid ready to go behind it? It's also going to test.
We'll just switch swabs. We're good.
It's also, I will say this though, it's also going to test coaches. Yeah. If you can like the people that can coach around it, right? And get a kid ready in 6 days. Some coaches can't, right? And so that's another thing that, let's be real, here at Texas, we've had that struggle the last decade. I am 100% aligned with Tran of that comfort of there's not as many question marks. Just like even the question marks at wide receiver, it's just more of a question of who's going to be the guy to step up, because this is the perfect year to be breaking in receivers because you have a senior quarterback that knows the offense like the back of his hand well. So that's when you want to have your young boys getting ready, because they're going to be working with the maestro anyway. So I feel very, very comfortable, like Tran said. My concern overall with Texas is really, do we get to the point now where we don't fall asleep at the wheel in certain games? I know we bring it in big games. You saw that from us, Billy. Even though we lost, we will show up for the big games. We showed that against Georgia. But when we fall asleep at the wheel and it's like, really, Kansas, bro?
That was that.
You know,
that's perfect.
or we can't figure out stuff against TCU, and TCU goes 5-7, and now Max Duggan is good again.
Baylor slaps us in the face.
Yeah, like
yeah.
It's the consistency, man, and that's why guys. Somebody brought up development at Texas. That's why we've been struggling there.
Well, it's not just the development at Texas. I mean, we went over this a year or so ago with Tom Herman. He has these little lulls. He's had it at every single step. Like, who did he lose to in Houston? Connecticut. He lost to Connecticut.
Yep.
Who did he
lost
lose
to Navy too?
Yeah. I mean,
Navy's tough. Navy's tough. That's different, but. That Houston team was
but
so
they
good.
They smoked Oklahoma. Like
and they smoked Florida State.
Yeah.
No,
so I mean, he just has those.
He's pretty notorious to playing down the competition.
Yeah, and we can't have that. If we do play down to their competition, we have to be at that area where we're so good that even our C game will still win by 10 points.
All right, 5 minutes.
Ugly games.
Let's wrap in the next 5 minutes, guys, because I want to be, I don't want to.
Well, we got to get to Brandon for him.
Yeah,
Brandon. Yeah, go ahead, Brandon. 13. You feel good about it?
I like 13.
Still got you on the top 5.
I like 13, especially when you look at all the SEC West teams ahead of us. The schedule kind of takes care of itself if we can win. Even if we drop a game or two to some of these teams, it still puts us in good position. I like 13. It's one place ahead of y'all. Honestly, if we can remain that throughout the entirety of the season, I'm good with that as well.
It's not how you start; it's how you finish, Brandon.
That's why I said if we can remain that through the entirety of the season.
We were ranked at the end of the season. It's funny because we both finished 8-5, I believe.
Right, and the fact that for us that was probably pretty good, and for y'all it was a letdown, and you still. Yeah, that was disappointing, but
you see that what you just said is the biggest problem with Texas A&M.
That's a loser mindset, man.
We
don't like 8-5
you know what?
ever.
I'm not gonna say I was happy with 5 losses.
You had a tough schedule.
No, but you had a tough schedule.
You're going through that schedule with freshmen and sophomores, and it's very tough for those guys to get up after getting physically just bombarded game after game. Like that's tough.
I hear you, but we also talked about this before the Clemson game, brother, last year. We know, the mindset can't be we're going to win every game we're supposed to win. Like every game you said last year when we went through the schedule, you were pretty much 100% right about your season, which is the problem, right? You were like, hey, we're going to lose to Auburn, we're going to lose to Alabama, we're going to lose to Clemson, we're going to lose to LSU. We're going 8-4. We're going to win all the games. We're going to beat the Mississippi schools.
That was kind of
but
obvious.
When
you gotta scratch one or two of those to take
right. When Clemson.
That's why I'm excited for this year, because I think this year is when we should take that step, especially when you look at last year. We could have, what you're talking about, we could have done if Kellen Mond would have taken a step from his sophomore campaign. But I think that we can all agree that he didn't really take that step that was intended. If he would have done that, I think we win one or two of those games.
Are you concerned that Kellen Mond? Are you concerned that Kellen Mond didn't throw for over 100 yards in the last 2 football games we saw Texas A&M play?
I mean, in a Jimbo Fisher offense, that is always concerning. I mean, you look at what he's done with quarterbacks; it's concerning. But that's
the brother wasn't breaking.
He got Jameis Winston paid.
The brother wasn't breaking 100 yards throwing.
He got EJ Manuel, Jameis Winston, and Christian Ponder.
But that's what I'm saying. With a Jimbo Fisher offense, yes, it's very concerning.
Is Christian Ponder still alive?
Oh, he's married to
Samantha Ponder.
Samantha Ponder.
He did something right in his life.
Yeah.
And he got paid. Good for him.
He got paid. But this is Kellen Mond's year to get paid, and if he performs, I think we do have some of those big game wins that we just didn't have last year.
It's got to be the mindset. Like I was honestly proud of y'all when y'all played the way y'all played Clemson the year before, right? Because like I really
Don't
felt
remind me
like
of that. We should have won that
I
game.
felt like but I felt I'm like, yo, they're really trying to win. Like they're not. Their mindset isn't we're gonna come here and play well. When we lost to LSU, I was pissed. And you can look at the end of the like I expected us to win, even though whatever coming into that game as a fan, knowing my team, I expected us to win. And I felt like there were games last year. I felt like A&M, some of these fans, now you have the people on Twitter who are idiots in the message boards, but I'm talking about people like yourself who I respect, Brandon. I love you, brother. But there were games where I'm like, yo, you're defeated before the game started, right? Like, it's like,
I was never defeated before the game started. Maybe
can I jump in real quick?
Before the game
can I jump in real quick?
Please.
The exact phrase was, "We beat the spread." Is what we would hear over and over again. And that to me is infuriating to me. I'm sorry.
You know what? Against a powerhouse like
Tramp
Clemson, you're right. I'm gonna against a team like Clemson at that point when they were kind of firing all cylinders, we were still trying to figure it out. I mean, in the beginning of that game, Kellen Mond's missing wide open receivers, and when you can't do that on the road against a team like Clemson. So covering the spread in that case, I'm happy with that because they didn't drub us like they were supposed to. But again, this is it's. I'm not gonna say that it's a losing mindset because I don't think my mindset overall is definitely one of a loser. But
no,
we're just busting you.
Yeah, I'm just saying overall, having realistic expectations like this year. If that happens this year, I'm gonna be highly upset. But this year is not last year. Last year was a different animal than this year.
So with the joining of with you going to 2 extra SEC games, what do you think your record will be? Because obviously it was 9 wins or bust for you guys beforehand.
Adding the 2 SEC games, for me, I expect no more than optimistically 2 losses.
Optimistically.
Who's y'all's next quarterback in the building, Brandon?
Oh well, that could be fun.
I saw somebody just left.
Yeah, I think Foster hit the portal.
Yeah, Foster left. He entered the transfer portal. I mean,
he's the 4th-string
Zach
quarterback
Calzada, anyway. He's kind of next in line right now.
It's probably King.
Right, King from Longview.
Oh yeah. The freshman.
He's coming in. So I mean, we really don't.
He's highly touted. And the thing about King, so this is the good and bad.
He's a coach's son. I always love coach's sons for quarterbacks.
His dad is great coach. I love his dad because when they had the game when Longview played on ESPN last year, it was against our boy Keaton Crawford, and Keaton Crawford picked him off in the end zone.
Yeah.
But
I remember that text.
When he threw the pick and he came out, his dad was like, "Why'd you throw that? That was a stupid ass throw." Like the way he talked to him, he did not talk to him like coddle, like there was no parental
straight up with him
tone. Like he was just like
condescending to his son.
I am pissed off at you're my quarterback and you just screwed up and I'm pissed off.
Brandon. Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah,
that's awesome. Though. Good coaches who coach their sons. I mean, and actually coach them. I love those type of quarterbacks, and I do think Haynes King is one of those quarterbacks. But I mean, and
he's got to develop as a passer,
right?
Potentially got to develop as a passer because he's the guy that runs around. Not runs around like he's trained, but he's very fast. He's very, very fast, and he's going to remind some people of some of the former A&M quarterbacks that have been very mobile. Going back to Reggie McNeil, right? But the thing with him is, sometimes he just throws blind, and it's like, where are you going with the football and why? So Jimbo, being the quarterback guy and the guy that's developed, Billy knows this too, what he did early on at LSU and stuff. Like that's I believe why King went there and to be developed and coached by him. The way Kellen Mond's been developed too. And maybe not to where people's expectations were when he came out of IMG, but he's getting there. So
I think with Kellen Mond, one thing that he took a step back is extending plays with his legs last year. He was just trying to be too much of a pocket passer.
That's the number one thing I hear from you during games. Use your legs.
Because you look at the ends of the season and he started using his legs and extending drives and extending, and then good things happen. Even at the end of the Clemson game, when he started using his legs to get first downs on, 5-6 yard scrambles, like that's what makes him so dynamic. But when he tries to sit there and go through his progressions, maybe go back through another progression, he's trying to make the plays from the pocket.
Agreed.
I mean, it's not his game.
I would
in my
not.
opinion.
I don't know what this guy's, what they're saying about him in the quarterback room, your backup quarterback, but
I'm curious to see where the depth chart lands after Kellen Mond, actually.
because I think I don't know, but Kellen Mond, Brandon, like I said, I've watched those games and I don't know, what's going to happen. It's kind of one of those things. I think you want to hope that one of these freshmen or one of the quarterbacks behind are putting pressure on Kellen Mond.
Exactly.
I think that's
Right.
really what you want in the long run, because if that happens, either he's going, it's fight or flight situation. And
It's the same thing we're talking about with Alabama. What they already have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a very good point, Billy. And, that's why I'm curious what it looks like, what the depth chart looks like after Kellen Mond. Because, if we do see that Hank King has that 2 spot, we know that, hey, he's already hopped one person. He's coming for the throne.
Hey, Tran, before we sign off here, can you scroll down? Because we didn't see the whole top 25.
We got Brandon's prediction. What's Texas's record?
Tran, you want to go first, or I can go first? Up to
Are
you.
y'all playing 11 games or
9 plus 1?
We're playing 10.
9 plus 1. Okay, that's right. All right.
I'm going to say that we will be 8-2.
Who are the 2?
We're going to split the OUs, the Oklahomas, and we always have just like a weird loss to some other team. So
Iowa State or Baylor.
9-2. Because if we play, you mean I'm sorry, I'm tripping.
We're gonna, because we'd have to. We might play Oklahoma State back to back, possibly.
I got you. I was tripping.
So yeah, I think we actually beat Iowa State. I think they're coming here, so I think we're gonna win that game. I don't know. I mean, just there's always that one game, but I just don't think. They're also spread apart. I mean, I'd have to have the actual schedule in front of me. A lot
That's
of times
the other thing. Yeah, we don't know what the revised schedule is going to be.
Right.
But
you can mark off like in your head mentally beforehand that this is a game that they're just going to kind of just go through the motions on, and that could be one of those games that we lose. But I just feel like an 8-2, and I still think that 8-2 could get us into the Big 12 championship. So. It's Big 12. It's Big 12 championship or bust. Being in the Big 12 championship for Tom Herman.
I'll piggyback it off of Brandon's. Who's in y'all's? Who's the backup for you guys? Is there a 2-headed horse race? I mean, where's y'all? Where do y'all
quarterback?
stand? Yeah, because I mean, Ellinger is in a similar situation as Mond, in my opinion. I didn't like his. Not dislike, but I didn't like the progression that last year. I thought the year before was much better, and I just think pressure is good in those situations for these.
That's
guys.
a perception thing, though, because when you look at how he graded on the year, they just had the thing today. He got a 90 grade Pro Football Focus for his last season, and the only 2 dudes ahead of him were Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. Now the lull that he did have, because he did have a lull there in kind of before the Texas Tech game.
Dude, you had an offensive first 6 games, and in the last 6 you had a defense. It was like split seasons to a degree. I mean,
he was dealing with some injuries,
and
I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to be an excuse guy, but like he was not throwing the football the same way for a little bit. I think his whether it was the rib or the midsection thing he was dealing with was bothering him, and we had Also, I'm going to say this because I saw the same thing happen with Dak Prescott and y'all remember that Atlanta Falcons game when Chaz Green started at left tackle.
Oh yeah.
That Oklahoma game when he got sacked 9 times.
I know, that was crazy.
That
messes with his timing.
It messes with your because it's not you being scared. It's just like, damn, I got to get they're not talking, right? Like I got to get the ball out, right? So I think when it took them a little bit to get some of those things shored up too. And then let's be real, we fired our offensive coordinator. We fired our defensive coordinator. We stumbled into using 10 personnel in the Iowa State game when we couldn't get anything going and the coaches were acting clueless. And
We
then
also
it's
ran
right
the
before
ball
half.
6 times that
Oh,
game.
that
It was
was
just, it was the ineptitude, because a lot of people were so confused when the Pro Football Focus grades came out today. And they're like, well, how the hell did he get a 90 grade for last season? But when you're watching the tape, situation, everything factored in, and you're like, damn, he's not even being utilized properly in this scheme. And Texas really struggled making adjustments when people adjusted to them. People got used to what we were doing after the LSU game. That was a high profile game, a lot of tape out there. Oklahoma exposed our offensive line very badly.
Well,
They
Joe
exposed
Gallimore got paid from that
I
game.
will state this, that LSU exposed our offensive line because they actually weren't getting pressure until right before the half, and Jason hit.
Yeah.
Came off the stunt. Yeah.
It came off the stunt, and that's what
And it was Parker
ruined it,
Braun.
yeah.
And everybody else drove the bus right through there after LSU figured that out.
Mhm.
So that's not on Sam Ehlinger, but it's a perception thing nationally. And guys, we're not going to talk about that today, but that's going to be that's going to be our next video, because I want to get y'all's, for my Texas fans on here that I make content for, I want to have a discussion, a broader one about him, but this can be the teaser of it.
Yeah.
But to answer Billy's question real quick, behind him is Casey Thompson and Hudson Card and Jaquindon Jackson.
Yeah.
So you have 2 recruits who Tran and I both feel are probably in their development path already further along than where Sam Ehlinger was in 2017.
100%. So
With a
I'm
better
not
scheme.
worried. I'm not worried about Sam at all, except health reasons. That's what
Right.
I'm worried about.
Yeah, he's been banged up every year with something.
But what we have set for years to come is that competition that you're talking about, that pushes each other to be better, to fight for that position. And they're leaders. I mean, and they played football at big schools. It was at the highest level too. So they're experienced to a degree. Of course, college athletes are way better than the kids they play against. But
Absolutely.
that's the point of, if Sam, we need to start blowing out the teams that we need to blow out and get those guys some reps out there, like you were saying.
Billy,
Yeah.
you know that, and you know that because that's your point with Miles Brennan, right? Is Miles Brennan played so much last year because y'all were taking care of your business. He was able to get reps. Curry was able to get reps. All these guys that you're banking on now got to play because the guys that were in there took care of their business.
right.
We're trying to replicate that going to Mike Yursich coming over from Ohio State, coming from Oklahoma State previous to that, where we're not messing around with Kansas anymore, and we can't get people on the field
Yeah.
because we're sweating it out at the end of the 4th quarter. Like, that's me. That's just me being real about my program, right? And like, that's a reality that, again, Tom Herman, him saving his job and him wanting to beat Texas and knowing where he can take our program and getting it to where it needs to be, you've got to get those guys, the opponents you face, whether it's in now it's in the conference, you got to blow some of these people out of the water, man. And I don't look, especially now where we don't know what the playoff picture is going to look like and what the committee's going to do, and if they expand or don't expand. Style points do matter in college football. Style
100%.
points do matter. Okay. So no more of this. We're going to kind of mosey on and hand the football. Like, that pissed me off whenever Casey Thompson would come in the game. You bring him in the game to run.
We didn't throw
read
the
option.
ball ever.
I know.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
That really
Run
made
your
me mad.
offense. So
Let the kid let us see what this kid has, and let him get some
Absolutely.
passes, some actual legit passes in the game.
Absolutely. Also, shout out to Mac Brown for getting North Carolina preseason 19. You're doing great work over there, man. I know there was some Clemson fans that came on my North Carolina video where I was just showing love to my former national championship head coach, talking about North Carolina had no linemen, they're not going to be good at all. Shut up. And very, very salty. I'm like, why are you guys threatened? Like, the fact that y'all are coming on here tells me y'all are somewhat threatened by them. Clemson people can respond, jump in the comments later if they want to. there's nothing else that really stands out to me. I can see why Cincinnati's up there with Ritter at quarterback. And, we were talking pre-chat about the AAC, but overall, guys, I'm pretty good to go, and I appreciate y'all. Trent, you can stop sharing now, so I can see everybody's face before we
Can I get
off here.
Can I give my? I didn't give my prediction, man. You don't want to know the reigning national champion prediction or what?
You told me that you don't think they're going to win, but I'm imagining a 9-1-ish prediction from you. But go ahead.
So I think the kicker for us, obviously the biggest question is, can we sustain the offense? That's what it's about. We have all the pieces. I think we will. Obviously, it's not going to be last year's offense. That goes without being said. That might never happen again at LSU. It'll happen somewhere, but maybe not at our program. Maybe
it was historic. Absolutely.
Right. And so can Miles Brennan throw 35 touchdowns? Or more. If he can do that, well, we're going to be really good. Now, the game I'm looking at on the schedule at this point is Florida. I think that's the game that determines whether we're going to go 8-2 or 9-1. That's a big kicker. We got Alabama at home. We do go on the road to A&M. That might be a very important game. Could be really important.
I would say this. It would be, but the week before we play Bama. So I do think we split one of those games with y'all.
Yeah, that's really hard to get up for both of those games.
We actually play Auburn though the week before, so we're not.
Oh yeah, so it's a trade-off right there.
Yeah, so I look at the schedules. We're both in a pretty interesting situation, and that's coming off of playing Alabama the week before, I believe. No, 2 weeks before, but.
And you don't get to play the Citadel before you play them either. I got to go right into
give a chance for everyone to hit.
We have a bye week. Every year, Alabama and LSU both have bye weeks.
They should.
But I think right now, considering where we're at, I think 8-2 is what I will say. I think that's a
Sugar Bowl.
So 8-2 across the board is what I'm hearing.
Well, first off, does that get you in the SEC? Does that win the SEC West?
I mean, we're going to find out. I think I think the Florida game, and I think the Alabama's going to pick up someone on their end, and it might be Florida might get stuck with Alabama and A&M. So that's why I say that Florida game is a kicker. If everybody scheduled it, it kind of evens it out.
And is it at Gainesville?
Yes.
Oh, that's gonna be rough.
If there's no fans, every game's neutral. Not neutral because you still have to travel. That is an advantage.
It'll be a tough game.
But it'll be a tough game regardless. But even going back to the atmosphere conversation, that's not 100,000 people in Gainesville and
right.
Just the whole.
They're just on top of each other right there.
Yeah, it's still
chomping away at you and stuff.
Yeah, so if there's ever a time to go somewhere like that, it's now. I mean, you're like,
I agree. So we'll find out. I think that Florida game dictates, do we beat Alabama at home and maybe we lose to Auburn, or do we lose to A&M at A&M? So that's kind of how I break down the schedule. And then there's, Tennessee. What is their step they're going to take? Looks like we're picking them up. So there's some questions because the schedule's not full, but I think that today is 8-2. And if Miles Brennan throws over 35 touchdowns, we could go undefeated, honestly. But right now, 8-2.
I think you have the defense to if he puts up those kinds of numbers, you have the defense that can handle that.
It's interesting because Florida's having the same type of conversation with Kyle Trask.
Right.
Kyle Trask was at, I believe, 25 touchdown passes last year. So if Brandon I said Brandon. I was reading Tracy's thing. I'm going to answer his question in a second. But if Kyle gets up to that 30, 35 range and really starts pushing it, and you're like, because right now a lot of people are saying, well, of all the returning SEC quarterbacks, doesn't he have to kind of be first team all SEC or kind of that favorite there? But to Billy's point, if you have another guy ascending to that point and throwing those type of passes, it makes it really interesting. So
the number might sway a little bit because it's less games. So maybe the number's 30 this year. So that's something we also might have to factor in. but I don't see how between
Good point.
Terrence Marshall, Jamar Chase and Racey McMath and the freshman tight end that he can't be, one of the SEC leaders or nation leaders, in reasonable like touchdown passes. I just don't.
I can totally see that. I can totally see that because Scott Linehan is involved in your organization.
Hey, don't worry about our coaching staff, man. If there's one thing Coach O knows what to do, he knows how to surround himself with the right people.
Hey,
and chugging energy drinks.
Well, that too.
Joe Brady came into college football off the Saints, freaked everybody and left. And got paid.
Right, he got paid.
He's the offensive coordinator in the NFL already. That's awesome. Awesome.
He got drafted too.
Right.
I will give my prediction for Texas since Tracy called me out just now and said I didn't do it. I'm gonna say 9-1 as of right now. There's no reason. There's no reason for Texas with everything that they have, everything you look at on how you're evaluating a team coming into the season. If you're being objective, you have the quarterback coach combination. You have the returning starts on defense. You have guys on defense that have real potential. You have now the depth there on the defensive line coupled with the recruiting impact. You have the coaching staff that has, no one's telling me anything bad about, everybody's excited about every coach on the staff, right? And like I said, this is the fewest question marks I've seen that I feel like. Now, I'm also speaking from a standpoint where I'm still cautiously optimistic because we have yet to show this type of consistency. But I believe in Sam Ehlinger. I do still believe in Tom Herman, and I like the switches he made. And really, we jokingly talking about Joe Brady. I know what Mike Yurcich can do, and it makes me a lot more comfortable that he's been in this conference, had a lot of success, and on top of that, knows when you have an OC come out and say you're not winning the conference if you're not scoring 45 points a game. That excites me. You're not winning this conference if you don't run a certain style of tempo, and that we've seen Oklahoma do. And Oklahoma still has the edge in coaching. Until somebody dethrones Lincoln Riley, they have the edge. So I'm not gonna.
Well, that's not even close. I mean,
no, right now it's not. You can't have that conversation about them. And congrats Lincoln Riley for getting his contract extension. But what I do know is that this is the best recipe that you can possibly put together. There's no question marks on the offensive line. It's just a question of, where guys will play, but there's no question marks in terms of ability there. There's no question marks in terms of ability at wide receiver. So why, if they don't go 9-1, I will be disappointed as a fan personally. Now, I'm not saying we're going to win the Big 12 or anything, because you still have to go play a championship game, and whether it's OU, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Brock Purdy's really, really good, and Matt Campbell's really, really good. So I'm not dismissing them, and I would not be surprised if they surprise as well. But overall, man, Texas, not playing LSU, overall, does that play in their favor because they don't take those body blows? I'm using a boxing analogy.
Yeah, it does.
So overall, that's how I feel about, my particular team. But guys, we all of a sudden crept up on 2 hours, so I'm sorry to keep y'all so long, but
that was fun, guys.
We just started rapping.
It's a blast.
Everyone in the chat, thank you for the energy. Thank you for all the comments. Been flowing all night. And for those of you who will rewatch this in the morning and throughout the coming weeks, please chime in. I'd love to do more of these with you guys. And it seems like, was pretty successful. If I had fun, it was a success. And I think you guys did.
That's all that matters.
I had a good time.
That's all that matters.
Yeah,
all right, guys. Well, everybody out there, Longhorn fans, horns always up. We're signing off, ending the stream.
National champs.
All right. Later, guys.
Later, guys.